welcome back to the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube. Welcome back to Swivel Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Zuckerberg. Here with us today, Aaron and Joe. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
Alright, in this video, we'll be doing another episode of our weekly NFL predictions. This time over week 8 of the NFL season. If you haven't seen one of these videos before, we'll be going through each game of the NFL regular season week and giving our predictions of who we think is going to win and lose each game, and a little reason why we think those teams are going to win or lose each game. Before we get started, let's go ahead and go over last week's results. We had Aaron remaining out in front, going 11-4 on the week, brings his regular season total to 58-33. I matched him, kept pace with him, going 11-4 as well, 56-35 on the year. And then Joe was one game behind us, going 10-5. He is now 55-36 on the year, just one game behind me. But let's go ahead and get started and look at this week's predictions.
And if you like our content, be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think.
All right, so first up for the week, we've got our Thursday night football matchup on Amazon Prime Video between the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Rams. Vikings obviously getting off to a great 5-1 start. Picking up their first loss last week to the Detroit Lions by only 2 points, and just missing out on continuing to lead that NFC North. Meanwhile, the Rams have been dealt injury after injury, sit at 2-4 despite a win over a really bad Raiders team last week. And some rumors have come out that they may be looking to trade off some key pieces like Cooper Kupp, and there was a rumor that the Vikings may be looking at Matt Stafford, ironically, but I don't think there's much truth to those. So, but regardless, I think I'm going to have to go Vikings this week. They just seem to be, one, the healthier team overall, but also the better defense between the two for sure. I have a lot more faith in that Vikings defense to be able to contain a Rams offense that is kind of sputtered at times, mostly due to those injuries that they've suffered at key spots, offensive line, wide receiver specifically. And I don't think Sam Darnold's going to make enough mistakes for the Rams to be able to come out with this one. I think he's going to take pretty good care of the ball this time around after a few rough games, a little bit of a bounce back last week compared to the previous two, but a few tough games. I think he'll kind of get back, rounded out into form. Not quite to what we saw at the very beginning of the season, but better than what we've seen of him lately. So give me the Vikings.
You ever see like a spread and then it just kind of throws your whole world into question?
What's the spread?
3 points according to ESPN.
Really? It is Rams home
Yeah.
game though, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think isn't Puka Nacua supposed to be coming off of IR?
I'm not sure, but I think Cooper Kupp just came back. Is that right?
Cooper Kupp's supposed to be playing. I don't know about Puka.
Either way, I think I'm with you, Burke. I think I'm going with the Vikings on this one. The Rams are probably just a little bit too banged up, despite getting maybe a couple of their offensive weapons back. I think the Vikings are just going to be too offensively capable for the Rams to stop on defense.
In Minnesota.
Next, we got an AFC North matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. Ravens really starting to find that fifth gear right now as they kind of just run over whoever the NFL puts in front of them since week 2 of the NFL season. Meanwhile, the Browns go in the opposite direction, just lost their starting quarterback. Whether or not that makes them a worse team or not is to be determined. But Jameis Winston stepping in there for his first start of the season. He could throw for 3 touchdowns and 0 picks. He could throw for 3 touchdowns and 6 picks. We're really not sure. Just have to wait and see against this defense over in Baltimore. But I do think the Ravens should come out with the victory regardless of how well Jameis Winston plays. I don't expect the Browns defense to be able to contain Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Probably get burned on a couple of deep pass plays like we saw this past week for the Buccaneers. I think it's probably going to be, you may see Bateman get loose downfield a couple times. You may see Zay Flowers get loose downfield a couple times. But overall, I just don't think the Browns are going to be able to score enough to keep up with Baltimore. So give me the Ravens.
Yeah, I think one thing is for certain in this game, and that's Jameis Winston is throwing a touchdown pass. Now, whether it's to his team or the other team, that's a whole nother story.
Right.
But I'm with you. Ravens all the way. They're too good for the Browns.
Baltimore, Cleveland. Sorry.
Next, we got the Tennessee Titans taking on the Detroit Lions, an interconference matchup that probably no one really wants to see because the Lions should demolish Tennessee. But we'll talk about it anyways. Obviously, coming off of a Hayden Hutchinson injury, they were able to knock off the undefeated Minnesota Vikings last week in Detroit. Well, it was in Minnesota, but the Detroit Lions did it. And then for the Tennessee Titans, they are really not sure what the hell they're doing. Defense is pretty decent, but the offense is really just stuck in neutral and maybe even in reverse at this point with Mason Rudolph taking over under center. So I don't expect the Titans to be able to put up much of a threat against this Lions team. Lions defense should get a nice little training session in this week as they just beat up on the poor Tennessee Titans quarterback, whichever one it may be. So give me Detroit.
Detroit. There's not really a whole lot to say. That they should. Well, I mean, I guess you could say the Titans' defense is no joke, so it'll be a good little sparring session. But the Titans, I don't think, will score more than 10 points. So
Yeah.
And it's in Detroit.
Yeah, should be a get right game for the Lions defense after letting up 4 touchdowns last week or whatever it was. So
against one of the most explosive offenses in the league.
exactly, so they get a little bit more confidence after hold the Titans to 0. Next, we got the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Miami Dolphins. Game that's going to be a lot grosser than we all anticipated prior to the season. And not because one team's going to run away with it, but quite possibly because both teams may not score more than 15 points. As the Cardinals come off a victory over the Los Angeles Chargers, where they held them to 5 field goals and just snuck out with a 2-point victory because they scored touchdowns. So go Arizona. Meanwhile, Miami still looking really bad. Sans Tua Tagovailoa injury. Don't expect this offense to get much going. Although against a really, I don't know what to think about the Cardinals defense because what they just did to the Chargers, but they've been up and down all season. I think they're going to build off that momentum that they built last week. And every time I seem to pick the Cardinals, they seem to let me down. But I think Kyler Murray's going to do just enough against this Miami Dolphins defense to edge out a victory of probably another 17-14 or 17-10 game. So give me Arizona begrudgingly.
Well, it says here in this whole injury report,
Is Tua playing?
he will practice on Wednesday in preparation to potentially play Week 8. Does that change your pick? Because it changed mine.
If he plays, the Dolphins should win, yes.
Is this another caveat game?
I haven't used one yet this season. I'm going to go with the expectation of Tua playing. And I'm going to take the Dolphins because the Cardinals defense scares me that much. So I'm going to switch to Miami, I think. I think even if Huntley does play, they still have an outside chance of winning this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I will go into this game with the expectation that Tua is playing. So, Miami. I hope he doesn't look rusty.
That's my concern. I was tempted to pick Miami even before you gave me that information. So that kind of just pushed me back over the fence.
I kind of want to pick Arizona now. I did know the Tua news. I was gonna let you guys know if Aaron didn't say that, but I want to pick Miami even without Tua. I just moved to Burke. I don't know if I trust Arizona.
Yeah, that's where I'm
But
at.
if Tua comes back, is he rusty? Like Aaron said, is that?
I mean, to be fair, if you're going to be rusty, this is the team to do it against.
Absolutely.
Plus, they got it's not like they're gonna put it all on him. They have a decent run game, so
I was gonna go Miami either way, so yeah, Miami. That took too long for that.
I'm checking to see if it's a double XP weekend on COD.
that is
Some double XP tokens can be used in game starting launch day, which is this weekend.
oh, they're fucked. They're not gonna score any points.
Yeah, give me Miami. If COD's launching this weekend, Miami should win. That's how you use analytics. Next, we got the New York Jets taking on the New England Patriots, an AFC East matchup between quite possibly the two worst teams in not only the division, but possibly the entire conference. That's probably not true now that the Jets have Devontae Adams, but who knows? They didn't look that much better this past week. So, I mean, this is a game where the Jets should win. This should be a get-right game for them after a really disappointing loss last week in Devontae Adams' first game as a Jet. But they did go up against a really good defense over there in Pittsburgh that is no slouch. So, tough game to, kind of start meshing in. As much as I have little faith in the Aaron Rodgers leadership system and style, whatever you want to call it, I am going to take them over the Patriots because I do believe that at some point talent just has to win out, and the Jets have much more talent than what the Patriots have. So, give me the Jets simply based off of that. I can't imagine Aaron Rodgers is going to let them lose this game.
Yeah, do the Patriots come out a little bit fiery after their head coach called them soft? In which Bill Belichick said this is the same team that had the best rush defense in the league last year. They're not soft. A little bit of controversy between Patriots coaches. No, I think Devontae has his first full week in the building in that organization. They sort of get things rolling a little bit. Still got major concerns about that Jets O-line, but I think they'll get it done against the Patriots.
Patriots don't have much of a pass rush, so despite good secondary.
I might come back and change this. Give me the Jets for now. I kind of want to take the Patriots just to see if the Jets really.
Like I said,
throw your nuts on the table, Joe. Take the Patriots.
I'm just at some point
Yeah,
talent.
well, I went and looked at the past two games. They've given up 32 and 41.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that concerns me. If their defense was playing as tight as it was the first 4 or 5 weeks,
it'd be a little bit.
Probably would take the Patriots, to be honest with you. But Jacksonville scoring 32 makes me a little, and you only putting up 16 still makes me nervous. So.
And the Jets' defense is good.
The Jets got a lot of defensive injuries.
Yeah.
That Jets defense is still,
Next, we got the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a game that could end up deciding the NFC South results by the end of the year. Both teams go into this match at 4-3. Bucs did just take a massive hit this past week, losing their top two receiving threats in Chris Godwin for the rest of the year, and then Mike Evans for the foreseeable future. Meanwhile, the Falcons are coming off a tough loss against Seattle Seahawks team where they only put up 14 points against one of the worst defenses in the entire NFC conference. So little bit maybe to be concerned about that offense over there, but really it was probably more just the turnovers. They got to kind of limit the turnovers, which they should be able to do against a Bucs team that's not very good on the defensive side of the football. I do think Tampa Bay is going to be struggling to score a little bit, maybe have to lean on that running game with Bucky Irving and Rachaad White a little bit more than they have been. And Baker Mayfield's numbers are probably going to take a dip. This is kind of a tough one to choose because the Falcons have been up and down all season, and the Bucs just took probably the biggest hit that they could have at this point in the year. I think I'm going to go with an Atlanta bounce-back game here. After a tough loss against Seattle, I think they bounce back, put put up 4 touchdowns at least against Tampa Bay's bad defense. And I think Baker struggles to be comfortable without his top 2 receiving threats. So give me the Falcons.
I would not be surprised at all if this was a Tampa Bay like rallying
Could
behind
beat that too.
the
That's my
loss of their
concern.
two of their biggest stars
Yeah.
come out and just absolutely lay one on the Falcons. But I'm with you. I think I'll take the Falcons in a bounce back game in this one.
Fs look like peas if you
I'm
swing.
gonna take the Falcons. For last game, 30-36 in overtime. I was Kirk Cousins, 500, 4 touchdowns. Not necessarily expecting that, but I don't see a bunch of regression, especially because I was really disappointed with Atlanta this past weekend.
Yeah,
Get dogged the way they did versus Seattle. That was really disappointing, but
shouldn't have happened.
yeah, I'll take Kirk with Baker, and then I'm gonna try to figure stuff out with all the injuries.
Next, we got the Green Bay Packers taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars coming off their second win of the year over in London, where they took out the dismal New England Patriots. Meanwhile, the Packers coming off their 5th win of the season after overcoming a tough game against the Houston Texans last week and kind of putting a staple on their argument. There we go. Putting a staple on their argument for as one of the best teams in the NFC this season. I think the Packers should be able to win this game handedly. Jacksonville's defense is just awful, so I expect Jordan Love to kind of pick them apart. As long as he doesn't throw 3 interceptions, they should come away with this victory. I think their defense is going to do enough to limit Trevor Lawrence led offense that's been kind of rough this season. And, I don't have faith that the Jags are going to be able to score as many points as the Packers are in this one. So give me Jordan Love and the Packers as they further prove, against this team, they should just win. But kind of, extends their, I don't know where I'm going with this. Give me the Packers.
Yeah, I'll take the Packers as well. Jordan Love, still giving the ball away.
He's
but,
reckless.
They're winning, and I think if they jump ahead early with that secondary and how good they are at forcing turnovers, this could be a long day for Jacksonville. So I'll take the Packers.
I could see Xavier McKinney getting 2 picks this game.
Packers.
I could see Trevor Lawrence just 2 overthrows over the middle of the field. McKinney comes up with. Next, we got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Houston Texans in a AFC South matchup between the 2 best teams in the division. Colts, sneaky good at times, but really that offense is pretty volatile depending on who's under center this season. The Texans have been good against everybody they play, to be honest. Even the ones that they lost so far was against the Vikings and the Packers in some tough games. Outside of that, they haven't lost this year and have played some really good teams like the Bills. I just don't think the Colts are going to have enough firepower to compete with this Texans team. Best case scenario, they're able to get to the quarterback a lot and limit C.J. Stroud. But I don't anticipate them being able to do that much because they just don't have the pass rush threat that the Vikings and even the Packers have. So I think C.J. Stroud's going to have a bounce-back game after throwing under 100 yards last week against a really good Packers defense. Gets a chance to kind of carve up a much worse D over there in Indianapolis. So give me the Texans.
Yeah, Texans all day. I just don't think Anthony Richardson's good enough yet to win a game of this caliber. Defense has a lot of holes, so I'll take the Texans.
That makes sense.
Next, we got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals have an opportunity to get back to 500 with a win here this week, as they go up against the Philadelphia Eagles team that is beatable, for sure. Just whether or not they can contain that running game with Saquon Barkley, I think that's really what it's going to come down to. I don't really have a whole lot of faith that the Bengals are going to be able to do that. Defense has been playing better these past couple weeks, but at the sake of the offense not playing as good, I think it's going to kind of go back to what we saw at the beginning of the season, where the offense puts up numbers, mainly because Philadelphia's defense isn't particularly great, and I think the Bengals defense is going to have a hard time being able to contain Saquon Barkley and maybe even the running threat that Jalen Hurts is as well, especially with their two top receiving threats getting more comfortable as they, get back situated in the rotation after some pretty brutal injuries. I think the Eagles should be able to come away with this win and knock the Bengals down to 3-5. So give me Philly.
I think I'm gonna go with Cincy on this one. I think their defense is a little bit better than some people give them credit for, despite kind of what we were all thinking early in the season. Yeah, they may struggle against the Eagles because they're a high-powered offense, but that Bengals offense is, one of the best in their own rights. So yeah, I think I'm leaning Cincy this game.
That's a tough one. I wish Cincy would have showed me more this past week against the Browns. I felt like it shouldn't have been a 21-14 game. It felt bigger than that. Like, it felt like they were always controlling it, but I don't like that, so I wanted to pick Philly, but Philly at the same time always is up and down. Is this prime time or anything? Not prime time. Are they showing this on TV, do you think?
I don't know. It's a noon game.
National televised.
Game on CBS.
Yeah, I don't know.
Alright. No, I'm going to just go with... Give me Philly. That's it. Give me Philly.
Yeah, I will say I still have a lot of questions about the Cincinnati defense because the only two games they've played well are against the Browns and the Giants. So
I think is the run game doesn't seem great. And with Saquon and Jalen coming in to run,
yeah.
I feel like that.
Yeah, I mean after what the Ravens, I mean granted it's Derrick Henry, but I mean Saquon, probably only a tier below Derrick Henry. And we saw what Derrick Henry was able to do against that defense, so. Next we got the New Orleans Saints versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Game between two pretty mediocre teams. Well, the Saints would probably be more mediocre than bad if Derek Carr didn't get hurt, but they are sitting at 2-5 on a 5-game losing streak now after starting off 2-0. Meanwhile, the Chargers have kind of been up and down previous to this past week, where they lost an ugly game to the Arizona Cardinals. They'd only lost to two probable playoff teams, and the Chiefs, who are definitely making the playoffs, and the Steelers, who have a really good chance of making the playoffs. So, previous to this past week, not too bad of losses, with some wins against teams that you're supposed to beat, and then they drop a dud against Arizona. It makes me wonder about everything going on over there in LA. But I think the Saints are just too bad of a team for them to lose again, especially dropping 2 games against teams you should beat back-to-back weeks. I don't see that being the Harbaugh way of football over there with the Chargers. So I think the Chargers do have a bounce back. Herbert probably throws for another 300-plus yards, but maybe he gets a couple touchdowns sprinkled in there this time. Maybe J.K. Dobbins gets a touchdown or 2 this week. Maybe the offense just actually gets the ball in the end zone this week is kind of the goal. I think that should be for the Chargers, especially against a team that just got their ass kicked by the Broncos, who you kicked the asses of the week before. So, yeah, give me the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chargers as well. I think they look to get back to that run game that they established early on in the season, and for some reason kind of went away from last week. But kind of stout Saints defense, but I think the Chargers just sort of rush it down their throats.
I got Chargers too. I don't see Justin Herbert going back-to-back weeks not scoring a touchdown, especially if he gets the yards that he should.
Yeah, hopefully not. Next, we have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Game between two division leaders right now. Bills expected to probably be leading their division. Meanwhile, the Seahawks are a little bit of a surprise over there in the NFC West. I don't think the Seahawks. So while it was a good step in the right direction this past week for the Seahawks defense, forcing 3 turnovers against the Atlanta Falcons' high-powered offense, they still lost the time of possession. They still lost total yards. I think it'll probably be a similar story to that on those two fronts this week against the Bills, but they won't be able to force the same amount of turnovers. Josh Allen yet to throw an interception, or I think turn the ball over at all this year. I don't think he even has a fumble loss. So I don't think he's going to turn the ball over enough for the Seahawks to win this week. The Bills should be able to kind of coast into a fairly easy W against a Seattle defense that's probably not going to put up much fight. So give me Buffalo.
Yeah, this could be one of those exciting offensive explosion type games. Seattle is somewhat known for those this season. Had a great one against Detroit earlier. But yeah, I think Buffalo, that defense is just a little bit better. Gets a few stops. And Seattle's just kind of fighting from behind the entire game. So give me Buffalo.
Yeah, I like all the points you guys made. I'm going Buffalo too.
Next, we got the Chicago Bears taking on the Washington Commanders. Battle between the two front runners for Rookie of the Year in Jaden. Well, maybe battle between two front running Rookie of the Year candidates and Jaden Daniels, if he's healthy enough to play, taking on Caleb Williams, who, if Jaden's not healthy enough to play, could take a lead in that Rookie of the Year race this week. Bears defense, probably one of the tops in the league, at least tops in the NFC. Meanwhile, the Commanders defense is probably on the opposite side of that spectrum for the most part. Against good offenses, they haven't been the best, but they have seemed to have gotten a little bit better as the year goes on. However, I think that Washington offense just looks so good, but I do think the Bears defense is going to be able to slow it down this week, just enough for Caleb Williams to be able to carry that offense over a Washington defense that isn't very good. I think Caleb could throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns this game. I also think he could throw for 200 yards and 2 interceptions, but I'm going to go with the former over the latter. Give me the Bears just knocking off the Commanders and moving up to 5-3 or 5-2.
The one thing that really makes me nervous is Dan Quinn said that Jaden Daniels is considered week to week and not day to day.
Yeah.
So that makes me feel like he might not play this game. And I think that makes me want to go with the Bears. Really good defense, so that they're reliable there. And then Caleb Williams has been playing better of late than he did at the beginning of the season, which you would expect. So I think I'm going to go with the Bears.
I'm going Commanders on this one. 1, I got to go against you guys at some point. 2, my reasons being that the Bears' last 2 wins are against the Panthers and the Jaguars. So I'm going to consider them definitely worse than Washington.
Yeah.
Washington, we've seen what Washington has done. I feel like they've been shown week in and week out, so people should know that. I don't really feel like I need to explain that, but I think the Commanders defense, I don't think we're giving it enough credit. I think they're a little bit better than what they see. I know they give up some points, it seemed like, but this year the teams that they've given up 30 plus points to are the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Bucks. three teams that I feel like that's okay if that happens 2 against. Especially this is the Bucks 2 weeks ago healthier, or 3-4 weeks ago healthier. So with that being said, I think Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, those guys are making some plays in the middle of the field at linebacker for them. So I think it wouldn't shock me if Bobby Wagner gets a pick, maybe causes more trouble to Caleb Williams, just that veteran defensive guy that's just going to be a few steps ahead of Caleb all game.
And Deron Payne knocks one up or something.
Even if Jaden Daniels don't play, Marcus Mariota is going to show why he was a Heisman winner at Oregon, and he's going to make something happen. And Washington, I think they can pull that out.
All right. I like it. Going against your guy Caleb, though.
Yeah, I know. I know. USC sucks, anyway.
Yeah.
It's not going to hold weight right now. I'm just playing.
Next, we got the Carolina Panthers taking on the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton's owned the NFC South this year, and I don't really expect that trend changing this week as they face the worst team in that division. So, without any sort of story behind it, I'm just give me the Broncos. It should be an easy win, and I really hope I'm wrong.
Broncos, and I've never hoped to be more wrong in my life.
It'd be so great, wouldn't it?
Hey, that Broncos defense is kind of tough, though.
Oh, it's good, yeah.
Those guys they're tough, man. So, yeah, go ahead, Denver.
Yeah. Oh no, I hope Bo Pix doesn't throw 4 interceptions that game. Next we've got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Raiders. It's Raider week, Aaron. Chiefs are undefeated, have been banged up, lost another receiver this past week in Juju Smith-Schuster, so they're now down 3 of their top 4 targets on the outside, as well as being out their number 1 running back in Isaiah Pacheco. Also lost their second best cornerback this past week in Jalen Watson, so just players going down like flies over there in Kansas City right now. Meanwhile, the Raiders, they're Raidering. 2-5 right now. Somehow knocked off the Ravens early in the season. That clearly looking like a fluke, because they're now currently without a legitimate starting quarterback. They have decided to move on from Gardner Minshew. AOC is also hurt, and all of a sudden Desmond Ridder has entered the quarterback room. So Raiders have no idea what they're doing right now over there on the offensive side of the football, and the defensive side has been anything but good. So yeah. Long story short, give me the Chiefs.
I do want to pick the Chiefs.
No,
I am picking the Chiefs.
Okay.
But this is the game that they lose. You know that, right?
I know.
6-0.
Last year was a prime example. On Christmas was a prime example of that.
If this was a home game, I would probably bet the Raiders, because that's even more. Yeah. But I will pick the Chiefs and have faith. Kansas City.
I think Kermit Mahomes is going to be enough incentive for Mahomes to play maybe his first good game of the season.
I think as long as Harrison Butker is healthy for this game, then you guys are fine.
Yeah.
I don't see their offense moving that ball much against that defense anywhere on the field, let alone I think you guys are going to be playing on their side of the field a whole freaking lot this week. So, yeah.
So we hope.
That's my pick. Go Chiefs.
Last time we played them, their offense couldn't move the ball, and they still beat us. So
I agree, though. Coming from San Diego, watching that division growing up so much, like this is absolutely the game the Chiefs lose.
Yeah.
It's this one or like a sorry Chargers team that's not even that good that tears y'all up.
Yeah. Next, we have our Sunday night football matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers. A game that NFL probably anticipated would be a lot more interesting when it came around than it really. I mean, it's still interesting, but I mean, it's against 2 mediocre football teams that are both hovering right around 500. Cowboys at 3-3, Niners just below 500 at 3-4 after picking up a tough loss against the Chiefs this past week, where they never really had any sense of control. Cowboys coming off a bye, of course. And it's tough to choose. Which team do I think is going to be less disappointing? Niners tough one to pick because they're out Brandon Ayuk for sure. Could be out Debo Samuel as well. More than likely going to be out Christian McCaffrey still. And I think Trent Williams is even dealing with some stuff recently. But he did play last week, so I expect him to be fine. But in an offense where if Juwan Jennings doesn't show up, your number one receiving target's probably a man who just got shot in the chest 2 months ago in Ricky Pearsall, and your second best receiving target is another rookie receiver in Jacob Cowing, who was drafted in the 4th round this past year. It's tough to pick you. However, you're playing the Cowboys, so I'm going to. Give me the 49ers.
I don't know, man. Niners, I suppose. I think I've got a little bit more faith in that defense than I do the Cowboys. I don't think the Cowboys' rush game isn't great, so you can probably bet on them throwing the ball most of the time, especially if they get down, 10 points early. So I'll go with the 49ers, despite them being really banged up and not looking great.
I'm taking the Niners. They gonna take belt to ass to the Cowboys this week.
I do think that this could end up being a really good bounce back game for the Niners when they need it the most. Coming off yet another loss to a team you consider a rival, and it's probably not.
Jordan Mason might flirt with 200 if he's healthy.
Yeah.
He might flirt with 200.
Isaac Garendo could probably flirt for 200 if they just want to run him 30 times. And finally, we have our Monday Night Football matchup between the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Why is this prime time? We ask that every week. I feel like
even before the season,
Yeah.
I don't know how this got scheduled. On
yeah,
Monday
this
night. I'll be
what's
honest.
with all the Giants games in prime time this year? It's baffling. I think they had the second most behind the Jets or something. Yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why the Steelers shouldn't win this game. Just looked the best they have all season on the offensive side of the football this past week with Russell Wilson stepping in for his first start. It seems like they have a new element added to that team with the deep ball threat that he provides, being able to throw it up to George Pickens in a way that Justin Fields or even his predecessor and Kenny Pickett were not able to do. So I expect that offense to kind of pick up right where it left off. Against a Giants defense that's actually pretty good, but I expect them to have a little bit of trouble this week with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then I just don't expect them to be able to score at all on the offensive side against one of the best defenses in the league over there in Pittsburgh. All on top of being played in Pittsburgh, I just don't see any chance the Giants come out on top. So give me the Steelers.
Yeah, I'll take the Steelers as well. That Giants D line is no joke. They're really good, but so this will be a really fun game to watch if you like watching good D line play. But I'll take the Steelers. Just score a few more points than the Giants.
A few more pints.
And let that defense the pints will be going down in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. I can guarantee that.
Yeah.
But
Hopefully in New York for their sake.
yeah, I think that that ravenous Steelers defense really does a number on the Giants.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys said all the reasons, but also like as a Steelers fan, but this needs to go right for them after what they just showed against a much better Jets defense this past week. Like this would be if Russ were to go and look like Denver Russ in this game, it's gonna hurt a lot of people, even if they pull it
38.
out. So
Sure, why not?
Guess you scored 38, Joe. Congrats.
I said 38.
I'm predicting 38-12.
That's wow. That's giving us some. I think that 12 might need to be a little lower though.
I mean, you almost scored 38 this past week.
Yeah. That's true. But yeah, no, Steelers kind of easy on that game. It's not a good Monday night game.
No. Well, unless y'all got anything else, I think that'll do it. This episode of the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube, Swivel Chair Sports. I've been your host, Zach Soderberg. Berkeley here with the coast today, Aaron and Joe. Go and say bye, guys.
Bye.
Alright, please make sure to let us know what you think about our Week 8 predictions down below. Make sure to give your own predictions down below if you'd like. And other than that, deuce. Have a good day.